it was funny when I wanted to do a show about quarterbacks, and I wanted to do a show with an NFL quarterback to kind of give us some more context about these guys. Joe Burrow is the guy I kept coming back to because unlike Patrick Mahomes, unlike Josh Allen, unlike Justin Herbert, I think a lot of the things that make Joe Burrow great outside of the pocket movement stuff, which you can see, is subtler. So after you watch that game on Sunday against Buffalo, and even the last couple games that he played, if you were trying to explain to someone what makes Joe Burrow special, where would you start?
So, I mean, dude, when you were telling me, when we were talking about this pre-show production, I was just like, I have no clue. That's a good thing. And I think I came to a realization that he does everything really well. Like, in my opinion, there's no true weakness in his game, which just tells you the consistent level that he plays at. And I think that's probably what I'd go with, is the consistency. He's always like a top 10. You rarely see him have a bad game, and you rarely see him make mistakes. So it's just like calm, cool, collected, Joe Cool, right? Like they like to call him. And it's just a consistent level of really high level play. When, a lot of times when you say consistent, they're like, oh, that's a bad adjective on the way to describe people. I'm like, I love it because it's not only consistent, but it's consistent at a high level. And he just does the small things right, whether it's subtle movements in the pocket or whether just this like look off of the eye when he knows where he's going. He's got such a feel for that offense and Cincy that it just runs through him. And you could tell, I mean, the calf bothered him so much more than he probably let on. And honestly, Jamar Chase was onto something when he said, hey, I don't need Joe Burrow back to like week 7 or week 8. And look at the last 2 weeks. Like, to me, when I really went down and watched Joe Burrow in the San Fran game, which that defense was reeling at the time, but you could tell they were probably going to come in and be like, all right, we're going to, we got Burrow, we're going to stick it to him. And then the way he was able to operate, dude, the dude was checking to a QB draw on 3rd and 9 and not telling his receivers that he was checking to it. He would like signal it, and he check, and even, big left tackle or like Orlando Brown's like, what are you doing? Like, are you okay? We're doing it in 3rd and 9. And so like that to me, and the way he moved within the pocket. I mean, everyone saw that viral video of him, like everything that goes through a quarterback's mind. And it was like this, like, all right, looks right, looks left, stiff arms his left tackle, gets out of a sack from Eric Armstead, stiff arms Joey Bosa or Nick Bosa, goes around the edge, throws a dart, like all this that goes into it. And I was just like, man, I gotta break this film down. And it was just everything that he did, he just does at a high level. I mean, it's hard to point something out that just separates him, but that's obviously what the Bengals love about him too.
I believe it was their first or second touchdown drive against Buffalo. There was a sequence that I just think really encapsulates who he is. The Bills send a corner blitz off of his left side, and he shakes it off. I mean, he weighs 225 probably. He's like 6'3". Yeah. He's bigger than you think he'd be. So if there's a guy who's 185, 190, he's able to get out of that stuff. And it, to me, is a non-negotiable part of why he's great. Like, his ability to actually shake guys off in the pocket, beyond the pocket feel, he's big and strong, and that shows up all the time. So he shakes it off, escapes to his left, finds T. Higgins for a little completion in the flat. That's one play. Same drive, they send a simulated pressure at him with the defensive end dropping, and he knows exactly where his space is there. He knows that guy's not going to get wide enough, and he hits Irv Smith. It's a little stick. It's an 8-yard gain, but just how quickly he sees that and understands, he's not going to be able to get to that spot, and I know it. Yeah. And then that drive gets finished off with him, just the ball placement on the corner out to Irv Smith is insane. And so that to me, like that 3-play stretch, that's who he is, where you have the ability to create in the pocket and the strength. You have his understanding of defensive structure and where space will exist. I think he's so good at that. And if you look at what the Bengals offense has been over the last several years, they're starting to tweak it. There's more play action, there's more under center, there's more motion now. But the reason that they were so comfortable being so spread out is that when you have proper spacing within your offense, there's like a 90% chance that he's going to find the right choice. And that's, you just see it all the time. Like, when their routes distribute and they're spaced correctly, you can only make so many right decisions as a defense. And
Yeah.
he understands structure so well that he's consistently going to make the right choice. And then you combine that with how aggressive he is when the one-on-one situations present themselves.
Yes.
And that's
Yes.
another reason that I love him, is that the deep ball, the go balls, he's going to take them. He had one that was almost a touchdown to Tyler Boyd in that game. He took a shot to Jamar Chase that got broken up. But the amount of post-up completions he has to T. Higgins in those one-on-one scenarios, he knows. He's like, there's no way that this is a bad matchup for me. So the understanding of matchup, the understanding of spacing, I will be honest with this. When I first watched him play, it was easier for me to understand why Justin Herbert was great. And it's like, that's and Josh Allen. And then over the last couple of years, as I've watched Joe play, I've just come to appreciate who he is so much and how surgical he can be within confined space within an offense or within a defense. And I just think you've really gotten to see that over the last couple of games, and it makes this team really dangerous.
Well, and that's of all the things you said, I mean, everything was spot on, but the elite level of decision making, like that's not talked about enough in quarterbacking. You can have all the strength and all the arm strength, like whatever you want in the world, and you can have all the tools of the trade as a quarterback. But if you can't see the game and process the game and understand the game at a level that not only understands your offense, but also where they're at and the space in the defense, just like you said, then you're not going to be a good quarterback. And so I think that is, the more you say it, that's what separates him, because rarely is he throwing. It reminds me of Peyton Manning in Denver, the year he threw for so many, and I hate to say it, but I'm not saying he is Peyton Manning yet. But I would say that what Peyton did that year was, it was elite actually underneath, knew when to get to screens. And then when shots came up during the game, he would take them and he would hit them every single time. He was never putting the ball in harm's way on these shot plays. He knew when to take them. He knew the nuances of how a game was flowing, the ebbs and flows, and he was able to do that and take it. And I think that's what Joe does. Joe doesn't ever really try to force things. And so when you really look at it from a decision-making standpoint, he has such a grasp on that offense that's completely transformed that organization to where he and Zach Taylor are on the same page, saying, hey, you got it, man. Like, your decision-making is more important than your arm strength. Because I would say his arm strength is above average. Like, it's not anything crazy, but he throws with anticipation. It's fine. That's perfect. He throws with anticipation. He's extremely accurate, but he knows where to go with the football from his mind and the way he prepares, and just that sixth sense of like, okay, I feel that a defense is doing this, I'm going to do this. And that, to me, I mean, I'm glad you said that. That, to me, is sort of what separates him.
Late career Peyton Manning is actually a good comparison, because I think people who are younger that didn't watch early career Peyton Manning could sling a football when he was younger. And he was a much better athlete than people remember. Peyton Manning was like a pretty good at all the stretch play action that they would run. Peyton Manning, late career Peyton Manning was not early career Peyton Manning, but in terms of arm strength and how you have to live, it's actually probably a better comparison, even at age 26, for Joe Burrow to compare him to late career Peyton Manning. So that's so funny that you say that, because I think there is a lot of that in his game. And what I've loved about watching them this season, and even watching them over the last 2 years, right? So early on, they're trying to do this weird combination of empty LSU Joe Burrow and Zach Taylor's background from the Rams, where it's under center and they're running a lot of zone. It's a mess, right? Like, they could not merge the worlds together, and they really struggled to do it. They still went to the Super Bowl, but it was very disjointed. Second year, they completely scrap it. Right? We're going shotgun every play all the time. It's a shotgun-based run game. We're throwing the zone plays out the window. Our offensive line does this better, and they found what worked for them. But it was still very static in the same way that Peyton Manning liked it. I want to see it. I want to be able to see the defense and make my decisions. Okay, well, defenses started reacting to that, and they're going to be able to find solutions. And if you watch the Ravens play them, they're sending all these simulated pressures at him, and the picture is changing so much that static element to the offense becomes a negative, not a positive. All
No
right.
doubt.
Now we're in version 3, where you still have some of the spread out elements that allow him to see the game that he wants to, but you're seeing a ton more motion. You're seeing more play action than you've ever seen within their offense, and you're seeing Jamar Chase line up everywhere. So them trying to problem solve this thing at every single stage and trying to stay one step ahead has been so cool to watch. And I think so far they've been able to pull it off every step of the way over the last 2 years.
Well, I think the last 3 weeks or 4 weeks of that offense is really the last 3 weeks of that offense is exactly to your point. Like the first 4 or 5 games of the season, maybe 6, 4 or 5 games of the season, Joe was in shotgun exclusively. And I didn't believe it. I didn't believe it. And because I was doing a hit for NFL Network and we were talking about Burrow, and I went back and watched the game and I'm like, holy cow, the dude is in shotgun every single snap. And it doesn't lend itself well for any play action. It's very staticky. And that was just because of his calf. And then he gets under center the last 3 games, and you could tell like the offensive coordinator for the Bengals was super excited because he had this quote. He was like, well, we got Joe under center now, so we're good. And it's literally completely transformed their entire offense just by the fact of getting him under center. And so now they're rolling, and now they're quite honestly not the scariest team in the AFC, but up there.
So I was going to ask you this. We're at the halfway point. We're a month removed from them just being buried by pretty much every single person with a microphone. Understandably so. How many teams do you definitively feel better about on November 8th than you feel about the Cincinnati Bengals?
1, Baltimore Ravens. And maybe the Chiefs. I'm worried about the Chiefs offense, man, but their defense is insane. I would say the Ravens in the AFC. I would say the Ravens for me. And then yeah, it's either Cincy or that's it probably one other team. Like I'm not like I love the way that the Bengals are headed, and not only because of that offense, but that defense is low key really, really good too. So they're putting it together at the right time, and if they can stay healthy, dude, they got a shot to be back in the Super Bowl. Like let's just be honest with you, like they really, really do.
I think the Baltimore is the best team in the league. I truly believe that with the way they're playing on offense, the way they're playing on defense, they could just beat you in so many different ways. Like I believe what the numbers are telling me. I just think that when you beat the shit out of good teams, you're really good. And that's what the Ravens have done so far this year. So I think that they're definitively the best team. I would still give the nod to Kansas City because I have faith in the offense figuring it out over the course of the year, and the defense is playing at an elite level. After that, Philly's pretty good, but I think I might feel better about the Bengals right now than I do about the Eagles. As crazy as that is, with the Eagles being 8-1, it's probably close. But the fact that they're even in that tier right now, after what it felt like after that Tennessee game, is wild. But that's where we are right now, and it just shows you how central he is to everything that they are. And I believe this. I think, and this isn't a knock on him, I think injuries affect him in a different, more pronounced way than they affect some other guys. And some of that I think is mental. Like if you go back to when he had the ACL and he came back from it, he was very open about how much time it took for him to regain trust in his body. And I just think that there's something he has to get over. And all players are like this, but he has to get over that hurdle. And when he's not over it, you can sense a huge difference in him. By the way, he's over it. Like, he has cleared the hurdle. He is all the way back. And the league and just watching it week to week is so much better when he's playing at this level.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah, couldn't agree more. And especially, you're right. The more I think about it, it does affect him a little bit more injury wise, and everyone's different. But I mean, they're back now though. They are back in a big way.